Yes.
So, very good afternoon, everyone, and most warmly welcome to this press conference of Eastern Flank Summit. We'll start with brief remarks, and then we have time for some questions. So, Prime Minister Orpo, please.
Thank you so much, dear colleagues, dear media representatives. Europe is facing some of the most serious and existential questions of our time. This is why I have invited the colleagues from EU's Eastern Flank to Helsinki today. Personally, I believe this day marks a historical moment in strengthening the defence and security of both European Union and NATO. We are sending a clear and unified message together. Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine has been going on for too long. Today we are closer to peace than ever before. The United States, Ukraine, and Europe are working hard for this, as yesterday's meeting in Berlin showed. The fact still is that we do not see any signs that Russia really wants peace. Russia remains a threat today, tomorrow, and in a foreseeable future for the whole of Europe. This is the reason we are strengthening our cooperation. Our conversations throughout the day have been good and straightforward, as they are amongst friends and allies. We share a responsibility to take care of our people. We share a strong political will to reinforce our common security and Europe's defence, starting from the Eastern Flank. Everyone here today plays a key role in Europe's defence and security. From the north and the Baltic Sea, as represented by Ulf, Kristen, Evika and Gitanas, through continental Europe and Poland, represented by Donald, and further south to the Black Sea, represented by Nicușor and Rosen. All of us are already doing a lot to succeed in this, but we must not stop here. Today we heard important interventions from the Commission, Defence Commissioner Kubilius, from the Finnish Defence Forces Commander Jaakkola, and the latest update from Berlin from President Stubb, but also from Prime Ministers of Kristersson and Donald Tusk. Dear audience, the build-up of European defence will not happen or continue unless we, as states on the EU's eastern border, make our voices heard, explain our realities. Finland, together with other Eastern Flank countries, has been active within the EU in raising these issues to the top of the European agenda. And we have succeeded. Now it is time for the next steps, time to deliver. This is why today we have agreed a joint declaration. We have also agreed to work towards a common concept for an EU-level flagship project focused on the defence of the eastern border. I am happy to announce that Finland is ready to take on the role of the lead nation, co-lead together with Poland of the Eastern Flank Watch. I want to underline that every EU member state is welcome to join. I am very pleased with the outcome of this first ever Eastern Flank Summit. And I'm confident that we will continue this discussion at the upcoming European Council later this week. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And then we start going from left to right. So, Prime Minister for Estonia, please.
Thank you. Dear Petteri, thank you for hosting us at this very crucial summit. Russia remains the most significant threat to our region and all of Europe. Russia is strengthening its armed forces and increasing hybrid pressure. Today's meeting shows that our region is not waiting around. We work hard to protect the EU and NATO's eastern border. And I want to make 2 points. First, Europe's security is closely tied to Ukraine. If Russia is not strategically defeated in Ukraine, it will become bolder. This is an important week. EU leaders meet in Brussels on Thursday. We need to agree on moving forward with the reparation loan using Russian frozen assets. It is the best option to give Ukraine the financing it needs quickly, and it puts Ukraine into a stronger position for a just and sustainable peace. Second, Europe needs to do more for its own defense. This must include the eastern border as a priority. It is the first line of defense for the whole EU and NATO. Estonia will spend at least 5% of GDP on defense from next year. But a strong eastern flank cannot just be our region pet project. It demands joint NATO and EU action. The EU must take more responsibility for defense and speed up support. We have a good plan for the Eastern Flank Watch. The focus is on air and drone defense, stronger situational awareness, and the ability to stop the enemy at the border. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and thank you, Petri, for gathering us here today. How we jointly, as EU members, but also as NATO allies, can strengthen security and defense along this eastern flank. As been said already, Russia is the long-term defining threat to Euro-Atlantic security, and the war of aggression against Ukraine threatens literally not only the eastern border of the European Union, but the continent as a whole. We have committed to take this work forward within the European Union. The next chance is obviously Thursday this week. EU can play an important role in supporting member states' individual efforts to strengthen their defense capabilities by defining financing, by simplifying regulations, and strengthening military mobility, just to mention 3 aspects to it. EU and NATO have obviously different, important, but very complementary roles in relation to the eastern flank. Living up to what we already have agreed on at the NATO summit in The Hague on defense spendings is definitely key, and several of the countries present here today are already by far reaching the 3.5% target for military expenditures, or will very soon do so. So this group of countries lead the way in this regard, and when it comes to supporting our friends in Ukraine. Finally, Sweden contributes significantly within NATO to the deterrence and defense of eastern flank across land, sea, and air, the FLF Latvia, and to the Baltic Century, and the Swedish-led NATO FLF Finland will also strengthen the northern flank by enabling rapid response and reinforcement by allied forces to the northeast. Detailed planning is in its making. Thank you so much.
Thanks, dear Petri, for gathering all us today, and this is our first Eastern Flank Summit. Unfortunately, it has been said already before by my colleagues, Russia is and will be a long-term threat to Europe. Therefore, we, countries on the eastern flank, know it best. We are targeted by Russia's hybrid operations and acts of sabotage, but we know how to respond. We are protecting external borders of the EU and NATO on a daily basis, on land, on the air and sea. And we are investing heavily in our security and defense. For example, in Latvia, as well as I can say in all the Baltic states, our government is committed by 5% to spend on our security and defense starting from next year. And today, we discussed how to make our cooperation to the next level and use different EU instruments as well. We have outlined our priorities in joint declaration that we adopted today, and we will use this new Eastern Flank format more often to coordinate our action to secure safety of our people and borders from Europe's north to south. And we will continue our work to ensure that these priorities are recognized at the EU level, as well as matched with necessary financial support. Strong Eastern Flank means a safer Europe, and our unity is our strength and our best defense.
We had a very useful meeting. Thank the organizer, Prime Minister Petteri, our Finlandian friends. We are countries on the eastern flank, and of course, we hope for a peace in Ukraine, but even if we'll have that peace in Ukraine, we'll have, as many of us had already said, we'll have a permanent threat from the Russian part. So we have to be prepared. And the goal of this meeting and of the next ones is to operationalize that programs that we have inside NATO, inside the European Union. And that meeting will be followed by other technical meeting at the level of Ministry of Defense and other technical meetings in order to transform programs in capabilities. And what all of us has said is that the efforts that we are doing inside the European Union must be complementary to the ones we are doing inside the NATO. What's important for us is that the efforts we made on the eastern flank to be balanced between north and south, and we stress the importance of the Black Sea for the eastern flank defense. And as you know, we intend to organize a security hub, to host a security hub at the Black Sea.
Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I thank Prime Minister Petteri Orpo for convening this meeting. The discussion was really fruitful, interesting, frank, and the conclusions, I think, fully reflect the current situation, geopolitical security situation. Europe is at a turning point. As we see, Russia is not willing to stop its war of aggression against Ukraine, escalating further on European soil, including through its proxy, Belarus, which now instrumentalizes smugglers' network with meteor balloons aiming to disrupt the activities of civil aviation in Lithuania and pose threats to civilians. We must be prepared for a long-term strategic confrontation that will define our security for many years and even decades to come. Today, our response must be swift and decisive. Protecting the EU's eastern border must be our top priority, including in the next multi-annual financial framework. I commend the European Commission for its efforts to strengthen Eastern Europe's border defense and support Commissioner Kubilus' work to accelerate the European Defense Readiness Roadmap 2030. Modern border defense goes far beyond fences. Increasing national defense spending and securing EU-level funding are essential. Lithuania leads by example. Next year, our defense budget will reach 5.38% of GDP, with more than half dedicated to modernization. I welcome the EU Eastern Flank Watch initiative. A few remarks on this. First, special attention must be given to developing drone air defense and counter-mobility systems. Those are very important. Second, it must also complement the ongoing projects. Together with Estonia, Latvia, Poland, and recently joined Finland, we are implementing the Eastern Shield and the Baltic Defence Line initiatives. Most importantly, we must not forget that Ukraine is Europe's first line of defense. Without a secure Ukraine, there will be no secure Europe. Ukraine remains critically short of funding. Lithuania upholds the 0.25% GDP target for military support. Ukraine must be integrated in our joint defense effort. Its battle-tested army experience with well-developed developed defense ecosystem would be of great value in our common effort. Europe's security demands our unity and our action. Together, we must stand strong and be decisive. Thank you.
Today's summit focused on strengthening the security of the EU eastern flank. Together with partners from the region, we are responding to security challenges that Europe is facing due to Russia's aggressive behavior. During the meeting, we discussed how to be effective in setting the right pace of the EU's work and how to facilitate securing funding from the flagship project Eastern Flank Watch, the Polish Shield East, and Baltic Defence Line. As you know, Poland contributes strongly to European security. We protect the EU's external border with Russia and Belarus, and in doing so, we employ the EU instruments. Mr. Prime Minister, dear Peter, I think that we can announce today with satisfaction that finally Europe understands that the eastern border, the protection of our eastern border is our common responsibility. It's not just a national duty for Poland or Finland or Lithuania. It's a common European task and common European responsibility. And we are ready to co-lead together with Finland the Eastern Flank Coalition, as just indicated by Prime Minister Orpo. Thank you.
Allow me at the beginning to extend my sincere gratitude to the Prime Minister Orpo for convening this very important summit at a very crucial moment. Today's meeting demonstrates the unity, responsibility and resolve of the EU member states on the eastern flank at a critical moment for European security. We fully share the assessment that the security of the eastern flank must be urgently strengthened through a coordinated multi-domain approach. This includes land, air, maritime, space and cyber domains. We strongly support the implementation of the flagship initiatives under the Defence Readiness 2030 roadmap, including Eastern Flank Watch in close coordination with NATO. As a Black Sea littoral state, Bulgaria places particular importance on maritime security, environmental safety, and freedom of navigation in the Black Sea. In this context, welcomes the consistent efforts of the United States administration under President Trump to advance ceasefire proposals and to work toward negotiated solutions. However, peace cannot be achieved at the expense of Ukraine's sovereignty or Europe's long-term stability. We emphasized the need for concrete follow-up actions, especially in the area of military mobility, modernizing land infrastructure and securing north-south transport corridors are of strategic importance for the eastern flank and the Black Sea region. We highlighted the contribution of our defense industry, particularly in respect of the unmanned systems. We firmly are committed to strong, secure and resilient eastern flank as an integral part of Europe's collective defense. And being the last on the row, I would like to summarize that the Prime Minister Orpo summarized already in the hall, that today we are reassured that we have a roadmap, so that means we know what to do. We've got flagship projects, that means we know how to do it, and we represent a strong coalition aligned with the NATO. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now we take some questions. Kindly introduce your name, or tell your name and the name of your media and before making your questions. And we start with the Finnish media.
I'm Maria Gestrin Hagner from Hufvudstadsbladet. The details of the security guarantees offered by the United States have not been made public. Do you know exactly what guarantees the United States is prepared to offer Ukraine, and what concrete security arrangements is your country prepared to give Ukraine?
Maybe Prime Minister of Sweden and Poland can start because they participated yesterday in negotiations in Berlin.
I can start saying that obviously nothing is decided until things are formalized and written, of course, and nobody claimed that yesterday. But what became evident yesterday was definitely an increased willingness, a very clear willingness from the US to also take part of these security guarantees. And they were quite explicit, orderly on that. And I think that brings us back in a good sense to the discussions we had a few months ago in the Coalition of the Willing, where we stated that Ukrainian armed forces is the first and perhaps most important level of security guarantees, and to equip them, to train them, to keep them ready, basically, without any limitations on the Ukrainian armed forces. And the second one is, of course, the coalition of the willing countries being able to deploy different resources in or around Ukraine, helping them with capabilities they perhaps cannot provide for themselves with an American backstop. So this is a chain, and the precondition for making individual country decisions on what we as individual countries can provide is also based on the American backstop. So in that sense, on that specific topic, we came a few steps further, I would say.
I think it's too early to say something very concrete about possible American guarantees. It sounded very promising compared to the previous declarations that the Americans are ready to give tough guarantees, but it would be an exaggeration if I say that we know everything about the concrete details. But the progress is, and Ulf, I think you can agree with me, was pretty tangible. I mean, we are a little bit more optimistic here. When it comes to my country, as you know, Poland is responsible for the whole logistic when it comes today, not only, I'm not talking about tomorrow, but also about today, our duties, I mean the logistic hubs close to Rzeszów, airports, but everyone knows that we are focused mainly on the topic we have discussed already today, how to protect our borders against possible Russian aggression. And it is absolutely understandable also for our Ukrainian friends that Poland should be active and efficient on the eastern borders and when it comes to logistics.
Maybe I can add that even if the United States is the only one negotiating with Russia, at this moment and last week and month we have done good cooperation with US, European countries and Ukraine. I think we are very well informed, and we have prepared some details. It's clear that there cannot be any negotiations on issues which are European issues or issues in NATO without European or NATO countries. So I'm quite satisfied about the process at this moment, but we have to continue to work together. Yesterday we saw when Ukraine, the US and European countries work together. When we work together, we are stronger, and we have to continue that.
I think the most credible and strongest deterrent against possible aggression in the future would be Article 5 kind or like guarantee. As I understand, the United States is putting this idea on the table. So far, it's not clear how it will, what will be the response of Russian Federation. But my country is, of course, committed to contribute to Ukraine's military and economic force with 0.25% GDP contribution. And there's no need to put it into the law because there is strong political commitment among all the major parties in Lithuania that it should be done, and at least 0.25 or even more. It's very important that we should understand that Ukraine is the first line of our defense. Eastern flank is second defense line, but right now the war is going on in Ukraine and we have support Ukraine by all means.
I would like to add from Estonian side that the information received from yesterday's negotiations, Ulf and Donald already mentioned that it's not customary to be optimistic under these situations, but it's a little bit more optimistic than yesterday because there are still talks about US backstop in this process, which is quite important for peace to come, just and lasting peace. But for the security guarantees, it's probably understandable that it needs to have strong Ukrainian army, which is the first line of defense. Second one is the coalition of willing, in which Estonia has said that we were participating with company-sized unit, and also US backstop. And it needs political commitment and also commitment in planning and military capabilities. So this probably is a robust security guarantee, but as already said, that we still are on the way, not there. Thank you.
And if you allow me, nevertheless, that the shape of the security guarantees is still blurry. It looks like we are more aligned than before. On the first hand, it's building the resilience to provide with Article 5-like protection, to strengthen maintaining the Ukrainian defense capabilities, and of course the European future for Ukraine.
I just want to add that Ukraine can always rely on Latvia's support, whatever the need will be, because we are committed to support Ukraine military with financial aid. We have the same commitment, all the same in Baltic states, giving them 0.25% of our GDP. It usually goes even more. And we have been working on coalition of willing for quite a long time. What should those security guarantees look like? But now it's very important that US are on the same page with Ukraine, and it seems like we are on those negotiations as far as it can be possible ever before. So those are good news.
So the guarantees for Ukraine are the result of work have been done in the coalition of willing, around 1 year work. There are public and non-public things inside, and it's a very good thing that the United States is inside that box of guarantees.
Okay, thank you. Let's take the next question. That goes for the Polish media.
Good afternoon. I'm Jan Piotrowski, TVN24 of Poland. And my question to Prime Minister Tusk and Prime Minister Orpo, because as you've mentioned, Finland and Poland are about to take leading roles in the Eastern flank format. Could you please give us some more details on this leadership? Will it mean leading in diplomatical efforts or some kind of a financial or technological or maybe industrial commitment? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. Now we have decided in the European Union that we have this eastern flank, that we see together that the eastern flank is so crucial when we want to defend Europe and strengthen our common defense. That's why we have those flagship projects, and this eastern flank watch is one of them. And now we have decided to work together to create concrete measures, what it means. We have started to do the plans. We do it very carefully between militaries, ministries of defense, and also together with the European Commission, but in very good coordination with NATO. And if we think what Eastern flank watch and strengthening eastern flank, what it means. For me it means air defense, drone capabilities, land forces, and very good cooperation. But from European Union, we of course need support, financial support. In current MFF, we still have about 1.5 billion euros left, and hopefully we can have part of that to this flagship project. But in future MFF, there will be much more funding to defense, and of course it is also our target.
Yeah, it's in fact our cooperation with Finland and other countries from the region, it's nothing new. As I said just 1 hour ago, I think this is one of the most solid and responsible political format, not only in Europe. We have common threats, we have common chances, we have common projects, we have borders with very challenging neighborhood countries, and we understand each other really, really, I think, perfect, I can say. And no conflicts of interest when it comes to international affairs. It means that it's pretty easy for all of us to cooperate on, not only on our level. I mean, we decided that we would work on also lower levels. I mean, our ministers, defense ministers, advisors, etc. It will be a permanent work. And of course, one of the goals is how to use effectively European funds and European money. It's obvious. And for this, you need also political pressure, some tough and united argumentation in Europe. But as I said, finally, I think the understanding of the needs here in this part of the world is quite common now in Europe. We are very pragmatic, and I am absolutely sure that for our security, not only for my country, for all of us, this format and our common work is absolutely crucial, and it can be a role model for other countries. And as I said, we are ready to do everything, not only for our security, but for Europe, and it must be obvious for all of our partners.
Thank you. And the next question has been agreed between Estonian and Swedish journalists.
Right. Hi, Felicia Hassan from Swedish Radio, and there's been a lot of talk about the frozen Russian assets the past few days and using them in Ukraine, and that's great, of course. But at the same time, the Russian shadow fleet is passing literally in front of our eyes in the Baltic Sea every day. Is there anything that you can do more to stop the shadow fleet? Since we know that the shadow fleet is a big part of financing the war in Ukraine as well, and the sanctions hasn't yet had any effect on the amount of ships in the Baltic Sea. So this is a question for the Baltic Sea countries, of course. Yeah.
Would you like to start?
Yeah, okay. It is good to start because we have been probably one of the most active countries of tackling the shadow fleet, and your question is absolutely right, because I would say it's a crude estimate, but a little bit less than a half of Putin's war chest comes from shadow fleet ships. And as you know, Estonia is actively escorting those ships, asking for documentation, sometimes detaining, as do other countries, and so on. But if the question is, can we do more, then the answer is yes. On European Union level, we have been discussing that. European Union has a strong influence on trade policies, visa policies, and so on, of denial of services to those who are giving the flags, for example, to shadow fleet ships. And shadow fleet is not only money train running through our waters, it's also like a ticking environmental bomb waiting to happen, because if something happens with those ships, then probably it's a question of wind direction, who will have to mop it up, from the sea. So it's a big problem still ticking there. So short answer is yes, we can do more, and we will do more, because as I can see in the European Union, not only the Baltic Sea countries, but for example France and many countries are engaging more actively with shadow fleet. So yes, thank you.
Well, basically, I agree with the implied kind of consequences in your question. But the answer is yes, we are doing increasingly more, I would say. And every new sanction package also includes new vessels. I think we are extremely active in defining these on an individual vessel base and then include them in that. And I also very much appreciate the French and other countries' increasing willingness to take part of this. This is not only our problem, basically, because it finances so much of the Russian war efforts. So more is to do, and we are doing more. But nevertheless, even more is to do.
Yeah, I just can agree with my colleagues. What was said before, like imagine 2 years ago, we even didn't spoke about shadow fleet. Then we chanced them. Then we seized them. Then we had many sanctions which are going forward with next and next ships. Then we decided legally how we can prevent that more and more personnel want to do actually something on those ships. So we went even legally much deeper how we can prevent that there will be crew members who will participate, so going against and for those captains on those ships. So we have done a lot, but sure, we always are running a race. And for now, the race is still ongoing, but there has been done a lot, but sure, always there could be something more. And that our friends from southern countries of Europe are participating, it's very, very important, because it's not just the issue of Baltic Sea.
Maybe shortly, Russian shadow fleet is a real problem. It's pumping money to the Putin's war machine every day. And it's also huge environmental risk, especially at winter time. We are very worried. We have done many measures, like colleagues just mentioned, but also we have risen our awareness, and from single Baltic countries together, but also from NATO, and we have also shown that we react. We can react, and maybe the last point is the same than from colleagues, is that we need to do more. From EU side, more sanctions against terror fleet, but more cooperation with other countries, because many of those ships are sailing under flags of quite normal countries. So there is so much to do, but we can do more.
A lot has been said, and I would also stress the importance of inclusion of these vessels into the sanctions list, also impose the sanctions on the third countries. And I would like to mention that the Baltic Sentry mission was very successful, not so much probably not on the traffic of these vessels in the Baltic Sea, but first of all, looking from the standpoint of the damages of the critical infrastructure. So I think it was so successful mission that recently the so-called Eastern Sentry mission was initiated, which will be dedicated to the incursions of airspace.
In fact, as you remember, our cooperation, this very close cooperation in this or very similar format, started because of shadow fleets. I still remember our first meeting in Stockholm, and yeah, it's obvious that it's the problem for us, to solve. Obviously, it's not only about dirty business and financing the method of financing the Russian aggression. It's also a direct threat for us, because we have some signals that some drones which are prepared for some provocation, for example, against Polish oil platform on the Baltic Sea, they started from the shadow fleet ships, vessels. It means that we have to be prepared also for some tough measures. I'm absolutely sure that it's a high time to think about, if needed, direct actions against them.
And the next question goes to Romanian and Latvian journalists. Please.
Thanks a lot. Good afternoon. I'm Lucian Părvoiu from Romanian Television. My question is addressed to President Nicușor, Latvian Prime Minister, and other leaders who might want to answer it because it's a common topic. Europe is challenged by diverse actions conducted by Russian proxies, from sabotage actions to illegal drones incursions in our airspace. How do you intend to cooperate in order to counteract them more efficiently in the near future, President?
Yeah. Very large range of questions. First of all, we have regarding the hybrid and disinformation question we had right here in Helsinki, an European center. So we have to cooperate more. And fortunately for Romania, for this kind of sabotage thing, we are not very affected. But we had some, by the Romanian officials, we had some few attacks, but we are in close cooperation with the European structure and with our partners. And regarding the disinformation, I think here is the most effective attack towards our democracies. And you have seen in Romania, and here on the technological side, I think we have to do more, all of us, and of course us.
If you speak about hybrid threats and those sabotage, we know the techniques of what usually FSB is doing, how they are getting to those people who actually are executing those sabotage acts. It's not like in old movies when spies were involved in those actions. Usually those are different kind of people who never have seen Russian organizers. And unfortunately, they are trying to make a lot of problems for our railways, for our electricity and so on. But we have been quite successful of detaining them and even having criminal cases against them in court. So we're sharing this information with all of our colleagues, our intelligence services and other ministries of interior working together. We speak about drones. Since Latvia unfortunately had this bad experience almost 2 years ago, we have bought a sound system and new sensors which can sense drones flying over our borders, and we are working together with Ukrainians. They have a good library of sounds which can detect the drones. And now, as Latvia is one of the leading countries together with Croatia and Netherlands in Europe's drone wall execution or implementation, we are open to share those practices. And I think there is much what can be done to prevent ourselves from drones. But still, we need to find the tools how we can take down those drones if they're attacking us. So those are our challenges. That's why we are here. That's why we have so much to do together in close coordination. But we are really open to share what we have learned from our not so good experiences, because we know what does it mean to live next to Russia and Belarus. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is a question of preparedness, and we used to say in Finland that we are not afraid, we are prepared. And we are very proud of our preparedness, our comprehensive security model, so-called whole of society perspective. We have prepared ourselves against all kinds of threats, hybrid threats, different kinds of hybrid threats, environmental threats, pandemic, etc. And And we are working very closely with our friends, with our allies, but also with the European Union. European Union want to be preparedness union. And our former president, Sauli Niinistö, made a report to the Commission, to the European Union last spring, and it was very good. And based on that report, now we are building preparedness union. But this is very important to be well prepared, this whole of society perspective.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. I think we are running out of time, so we have to close the press conference. Finnish Prime Minister will stay here and answer into the Finnish media questions, and I know that quite many other Prime Ministers are going to be giving their own interviews. So thank you very much, everyone, and have a very nice afternoon. Thank you.
We stand behind, far behind.